the really miraculous thing about calculating your return on investment when it comes to email is there's little to no investment.
Right.
And that's the game changer. When you're doing direct response ads, you have an ad spend. You probably have an agency spend. So you got to figure out, if I'm spending thousands of dollars every month on a service and on ad spend, I have to calculate, is it returning anything? Because otherwise I can't keep doing it.
Welcome to another session of Genesis Nation, where I am very, very excited to interview these two doctors, these two gentlemen, Dr. Jason Deitch and Dr. Jeff Langmaid with The Smart Chiropractor, two very smart chiropractors. So before I want to know about The Smart Chiropractor and an overarching view. You guys have really narrowed in, from the digital marketing perspective, we could call it that, but reactivations and what it takes to not respend or spend all of your resources on consistently getting new patients, but why not get people back in the door? And I'm sure you've dealt with thousands of chiropractors, hundreds of chiropractors who've got lists over 20 years that are not farming those lists. So can you start with just telling us how the Smart Chiropractor formed, and then we will spin from there.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for having us. We are super excited to be here, and longtime friends of the Genesis family, and new friend of yours. So
Yes.
We're happy to be here and happy to be chatting about what we believe is one of the most important topics that a listener, a chiropractor, can be tuned into, and that is generating reactivations. But you mentioned, where did it all begin? And my thought on it is, Jason and I have always thought differently about marketing. We've always come at things from a contrarian approach, saying, is there a better way? How can we utilize what people are doing outside of chiropractic that makes a lot of sense, bring it inside of chiropractic, and make it easy to implement for a practicing doc? So from a genesis of where things began, no pun intended, that is ultimately the thought process that drove us to where we are today. Jason and I met probably close to 10 years ago now, and we just kind of jammed on ideas of how chiropractors at that time could be getting out and telling their story in the community. And there's been a big evolution of the Smart Chiropractor throughout time, because originally we focused a lot, and docs out there listening might be acquainted with, we talked a lot about how utilizing the free channels of organic social media could really help a doc get out there in their community. We discussed a lot about communication, I'm going to say, over marketing. And as time has gone on, we've really found and discovered that taking the messaging that we've really refined over, dozens of years of our personal lives, but over the last 10 years or so, publicly facing the chiropractors, really refining that messaging from a teach and invite strategic perspective, implementing it in automated email marketing campaigns can really do wonders for a practice. And it's just one of these, we call it like a hole in a bucket. It's just a hole that most chiropractors, there's not a competitive aspect to it in our mind at all. It's just, man, nobody's utilizing their email list. We saw it as an opportunity. We built it into our product and service. And over the last year, we stripped away a lot of other things, because we said, man, this is something that really moves the needle. It's super impactful, and we have deep expertise in it. Jason, I don't know if you'd add anything on there, but those are my overarching thoughts of how things began and where we got to where we are today.
Bottom line is, Brian, Jeff and I love two things: technology and chiropractic, and helping chiropractors use technology to get the message out to people. And over the last several years, as we've attempted and have provided chiropractors both with the technology and the training they need to understand, the feedback we've gotten back from all the different things we've put out there, from social media to workshops to doing Zoom programs and so on. There's a whole spectrum of different possible ways to use technology to communicate your message. What we found as far as the feedback goes, that what is the easiest thing to do that will give you the greatest return is exactly what we've landed on, so to speak, through feedback from the profession and from chiropractors, which is stay in touch with the people you've already cared for. They've already been in, they already know, like, and trust you. And as every chiropractor has experienced, people drop out of care for all kinds of life reasons, not just because they feel better or don't like you, but because life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And so it's just sort of short-sighted for us to not stay in touch with the people that have been in, that have had positive experiences, that have dropped out. And we all know they need ongoing continued care, whether it's for proactive care, for flare-ups, for whatever the issue is. And it really has become incumbent upon us as a profession to be responsible for staying in touch with our people. And unfortunately, the trend most recently has really been slimmed down just to direct response advertising as about the only way to think about how to attract people into your practice. That's super limited. We're opening up the conversation to go, look at the obvious.
Yeah.
There are thousands of people you probably can communicate with for free because you have their email addresses, and they're expecting you to hear from you. And so they are, in business terms, considered more warm to hot, quote, leads, as opposed to strangers coming in from an ad because it was such a good discount and you happen to be convenient enough that they'll come in, take advantage of your offer, kick your tires, and then split. And that's what creates that sort of, spinning wheels. You get lots of new ones, but you lose as many, if not more, than come in. And we end up with a stressed out profession, which is what we're trying to heal.
Yeah, that's well, there's so many nuggets that I could. So one, I definitely want to dive into how you mentioned this last piece, a stressed out profession, because we're spending so much time and effort to like just hustle and grind and get new patients. I mean, it's a physical profession, obviously, but that's, we're all prepared for that. But that's leading to a lot of burnout for a lot of chiropractors because and staff also. You're constantly churning new patients over and over and over. And I just love how both of you have trimmed the fat off of like social media, organic posting, or direct response ads, because we know those work. But have you addressed it? Because I got a couple other things I want to dive into, like the actual tactics of how you do this. But have you seen a change in your own clients as far as levels of burnout are concerned when they start communicating differently to the herd versus putting 100% of their effort on new patients?
It's a complete transformation when a doc can go from needing X amount of new patients each and every month to being able to feel confident that the schedule is going to be just fine. And then it's you get to play, so to speak, with your new patient acquisition instead of needing new patient acquisition to pay your bills at the end of the month. It's really a transformation because that is the majority of stress on a majority of practices is, you work X amount of days from day 1 of the month till day, hopefully day 2, in many cases, day 22 to pay the bills and then your profits at the end. Right.
Yeah,
So when you're able to know that you have systems, processes, automations that will encourage people to hop on your calendar, whether you are running an ad or not, whether you do 45 different screenings that month or not, whatever the case may be, you can rest easier at night. You know that the revenue is going to be there. And I'm going to say also, you just can feel, many of the docs just feel better to the point of burnout. I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but it's hard work like taking care, like building new relationships is hard. Like somebody comes in, a new patient exam, or, are they going to resonate with your practice? Are they not? Is there a quote unquote conversion or not? Like that is just stressful. I mean, forget about even getting the person in your front door. Once they get in your front door, there's still a host of stress that goes on.
Yeah. A lot of work.
When you're reaching out to the people that you've already built a relationship with, that already know, like, and trust you, and they're the ones raising their hand, I can tell you 9 times out of 10, those people raising their hand to come back in, they probably have a great relationship with you and you probably like seeing them. That's why they're raising their hand. That's why that relationship's there. So man, the day in and day out, not only I'm going to call the acquisition process, but the actual care and treatment process also becomes, quite frankly, easier because you know their body, you know their history, you know what's going on, and you already have that personal relationship. Jason, to me, it's really multifactorial.
It really is. And to the degree that I can, I always like to use the metaphor of how chiropractors work with their people, because the mindset is the same. And there are some that, teach them to live crisis to crisis to crisis, come back when it hurts. We'll fix the crisis after you have it next time. Versus those that say, hey, you know what? If you're consistent with your visits, let's get you out of crisis and into whatever you call it, proactive care, wellness care, maintenance care, restorative care, whatever it may be. Those are two different philosophies. And we're applying those same philosophies to chiropractors. You can keep focusing on the crisis of needing new people in your practice, or you can build what we think of as a more sustainable model, a self-fulfilling model. There's a formula for net momentum as it relates to new patients. It's not just how many new people did you get in your practice this month, which really is the statistic most chiropractors rely on exclusively, but it's a limited statistic, because what's really important at the end of the month when you're calculating is not how many came in as much as how many came in, how many reactivated, and how many did you lose? How many dropped, became
attrition.
inactive?
Yeah,
exactly right. Churn, attrition, etc. And there's plenty of practices that have lots of people coming in and more people becoming inactive than came in.
Well, it's like you just see the funnel, like you're just pouring like tons of new patients in, but it's dripping or pouring out the bottom. I just really appreciate something that just comes through to me here is that you guys are healers naturally because you're both chiropractors, but you're taking technology, but you're now helping heal the profession. It's really cool. So like right on, guys. What's interesting is maybe this is the wrong term, but there's like a cognitive dissonance when you're talking about like treating crisis to crisis. Yet I'm trying to, when the marketing and the treatment paradigms don't align and even the technology doesn't align, you can see where your business doesn't amplify and propel. Have you guys seen that a lot where you come into a practice and you're like, okay, you're going crisis to crisis. We're teaching different marketing. Has it been challenging to get doctors to adopt this? Or is it, are you literally walking them through this transformative process?
I'd say it's pretty, it's funny you ask that question because Jason and I probably spent 3 minutes talking with the doc, and it's like, yep, yeah. So and which is nice for us, by the way. So it's like, how big's your email list? Well, it's 500, 5,000. Great. What have you done with it lately? Not much. We sent something about we closed because of snow 6 months ago, and I'm glad you did that. Like, let people know. But are you doing anything consistent to reach out and teach and invite, as well, I'm sure we'll get into, to teach and invite consistently to generate reactivations? Nope. Well, that's what we do. And the beauty of it, Brian, is, we've done this long enough and we have enough clients, 300 plus chiros, sending 1.75 million emails a month, somewhere in that vicinity. So we have really good data to be able to tell a doc, like, here's what you're missing out on. Like, based on your email list, we have, this makes it sound fancy, but predictive analytics, basically meaning we know what's going to happen because we have great data in terms of, based on your email list size, we can pretty much tell you how many click to calls, click to schedules that a doc can expect each month, because that's what we do, all day, every day. So I'd say, to answer it from a conversational perspective, I think it's the easiest conversation that Jason and I, ever had, because it's so obvious that the list is such a valuable asset. And almost every single doc is painfully aware that they haven't really utilized it at all. So, and there's also, I don't mean to go, to jump here, but, many docs might utilize, maybe with their EHR, a great, welcome campaign, etc. That's awesome. Keep doing that. Maybe you use text for an appointment reminder or a missed appointment. Keep doing that, please. That is not what we do. We build relationships through consistent messaging that generates reactivations. And that is a different thing than many docs who have even dabbled in some communication strategies before. The other stuff's important too. Send those reminders, send a welcome, utilize the tools you have at your disposal. But golly, don't ignore the benefit of the list. And that is really what we refine our messaging to. Jason, I don't know if you'd add anything onto that.
Yeah, listen, it's a very easy conversation once we refine down to it. We all learned in kindergarten, make new friends and keep the old. It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple, basic stuff.
Yeah.
But Jeff said it, and I just want to repeat it so everybody hears it. The money is in your list, your email list, that if you're looking to generate more revenue, there's a really, really good chance. In fact, it's probably a fact that all the people that you've seen before are a great population of people to
Yes.
bring back into your practice. It just makes common sense. It's like chiropractic again, you know, people, they have a pain, they have a problem. I've tried the headache pills, I've tried the pain pills, I've been to my doctor, they never told me about this. Nobody's thinking about a more sustainable self-healing type of a process. They all just want the quick fix, the immediate gratification, the data, the ROI, etc. But when you think about it for a moment, like self-healing, right? Let's regenerate from within.
Yes.
This really is the same philosophy. Let's regenerate from within.
Yes.
And that's really the philosophy. And that's kind of the cool thing about it too, is it's completely congruent with our core philosophy as a profession.
And I don't know if this is a term, but it's business resonance, you know, between verticals of your business, like from marketing to that. There's so many awesome things you guys are talking about. I don't even know where to continue, but the two themes that keep coming up are teach and invite, and also know, like, and trust. But before we dive into those, I really want to, because we've talked offline about, you know, text versus email. And I want our listeners in Genesis Nation to realize that this is an email strategy because you are teaching and inviting and using communication strategies, not just, you know, text is a very different animal than email. But can you dive into like the teach and invite concept as well as know, like, and trust? And it seems like they're very simple, but I know that there's research and data, and you guys have put the effort into these elements here.
Yeah, I'll touch on the teach and invite, then I'll pitch it over to Jason for the know, like, and trust factor. So I'll make a little bit of differentiation that you highlighted between the text and the email. I'll go just a little bit deeper. Text, and this is the easiest way to think about it. Text is transactional, email is relational.
Mm,
Text is transaction. People miss an appointment, you're reminding them an appointment. That's a transaction, super
yeah.
important. But it's an and conversation, not or. And you want to build relationships. So you cannot send, or I'd highly not recommend sending a 1,200 word text, right? It's gonna be the last text you send to that person. It's
Yes.
like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
that's why it's transactional. One-liners with a link. Those are great. That's a great reminder type system, transaction. But email allows you to tell a story. Email allows you to teach and invite consistently. When we say teach and invite consistently, if any docs listening geek out on marketing and they've listened to somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, he'd say jab, 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 right hook. Value, 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 ask. In our language, we say teach and invite consistently. Teach. This is going to sound very familiar to many people listening. Engage, inspire, educate, be a doctor, be a teacher, right? Teach, educate, inspire, engage, entertain. Invite. That's in marketing lingo, your call to action. That's the click to schedule and click to call buttons that we embed in every message, and then do it consistently. And consistently means at least once a week. I'll say that one more time. Consistently means at least once a week.
Once a
And
week.
that's the super big challenge for so many docs out there. Brian, looks like you had a question on that one.
No. I'm saying once a week.
Yeah.
I was
Once a week. It's just,
reiterating that so people can see it.
yeah, it's so critically important. And the irony being most docs say to us, gosh, that's a lot. And, I jokingly and not jokingly say, one crappy message a year is too much. One great message a week is not enough.
Yeah.
So our job and goal is to create great messaging that's not about, quite frankly, not about the practice, but it's about the receiver. How does the practice make the receiver, the reader, the patient's life better? That is why you can do this weekly. It's not, as I've started saying, it's not discount and annoy every now and again. It's teach and invite consistently. That's what enables you to really keep up the cadence in a way that actually the irony of what I was going to say is sending an email once a month, you'll actually get lower open rates, lower click-through rates, and worse results than once a week.
Yeah.
And that blows people's mind when it's like more gets more. Yes. But when it's done right, which is some of the key component, and that's why we build it strategically from a teach and invite consistently capacity and not a discount and annoy every now and again, as we say kind of jokingly. But Jason, this dives into having that relationship as well, because they're not cold leads that docs are messaging. They're the know, like, and trust factor has already been built.
Yeah.
It's exactly the case. And many chiropractors who look at business, read business, study business, know so many of these data points. I'm going to be repetitive, but it becomes almost so obvious that you can't miss the obvious. But sometimes things are right in front of our faces and we don't see them.
Yeah.
So, we've all heard things like it's 5 times more expensive to acquire a new client than to keep a current client. We hear that everywhere, and it just makes logical sense. But most importantly, people make decisions based on emotions. Now we keep thinking, we just keep kind of going, we just keep missing it because we keep thinking, well, if we give them a better price to get them in, that'll be a good thing. But people really connect with the people that they like, that they have connections with. People do business with people they like, especially when it comes to professional services. And that's the distinction here. If you're buying a widget, a product, a car, or whatever it may be, you don't really care who you're buying it from. You're buying a product. But when you're buying a professional service, you're buying a relationship with somebody you have to trust, that you have to believe can, in fact, help you, and who you want to continue to work with. Most people, when they're looking for a medical doctor, a oncologist, an accountant, a life coach, a marriage counselor, they are not looking for the closest, cheapest option. They are looking for the best they can find and afford. And that's all perception based on relationship, based on reputation, based on other people's perception, and therefore referring, et cetera, and so on. It is not, unfortunately, where most of the profession has ended up with what's the fastest, cheapest, easiest way for me to get some stranger with some symptom into my office that hopefully has some third-party reimbursement, and then rinse and repeat through that process. So it is a matter of building relationships, staying connected, and just, as Jeff said, and I'll say it again, being consistent with inviting people into your world to get to know you, develop a connection with you, develop trust with you, because then you become their chiropractor indefinitely. And that's really what you want to do, is collect as many of those people as possible that appreciate being with you, follow their care plans, are enthusiastic to refer, and you want to build a practice of ideal clients like that. And that's not just one and done. Some people come, they have an experience, they feel better and discontinue. Thanks, that was great. They don't feel better and discontinue. Wow, I didn't really get the results. That didn't really work. But they'll do other things, not get the results, and end up realizing you were right. I should have followed your recommendations. And it's only by doing the right thing, staying in touch with them, and making it super easy. And that's what our newsletters do. It keeps you top of mind. And, I'll say our secret sauce is, if you're listening, the big buttons: click to call, click to schedule, to get back into your practice. We like to say patient pilot pilots your patients back into your practice.
Love it. And so you're obviously paying attention to one, relational neuroscience. And I know we're not going to totally geek out on that. Maybe we can geek out offline, but it's, just the fact that you're talking about text being transactional. And I love that distinction. It's really important, because when you have these long drawn out conversations, someone just sent me like an 800-word text. I was like, can you please email that to me? Because I can't even like scroll enough through one screen. So it's really important that you're paying attention there. Subject line. Obviously that plays a role. Like, people are going to look at that to either open it or not. And do you find that it changes once you build the relationship with the patient, or is that like something you're paying attention to a lot to get? Because obviously our emails are, our inboxes are completely flooded with, and now Gmail like separates them into everything. And so I'm sure you have to look at, like, is this going into promotional? Is it going in there? Like, are you paying keen attention to subject line? Is that part of your communication strategies?
It's critical. Impossible to take an action if they never open the email, right? So absolutely critical. Subject line. I'll drop a couple items that we really keep an eye on with subject line, and I'll throw out a couple data points as well. So the goal of the subject line is singular and unilateral, and that is to get the receiver to open the email. The goal of a subject line is not to do anything, but inspire the action of opening the email. So that should be based upon curiosity, not bait and switch. That should be based upon personalization. It should stimulate curiosity. It should be short enough that you can get the gist of things in any email client, so to speak, whether somebody's looking at the either email box on their phone or their tablet so there's a lot of strategy that goes into a few words because you want to generate curiosity. And ultimately, if the email doesn't get opened, I wouldn't say it's all for naught, because you still have a little bit of branding there, but you're not going to get the action step of the click to call and the click to schedule, right? So you're not going to maximize your impact. So what we have seen is, and I'll just throw out a couple of stats for docs listening. I don't know if mine are good or not, that kind of thing. So we see in the healthcare space, the average hovers around 20%. Is an open rate that is acceptable. Ours, or not acceptable, that is the average. Our clients' average open rate is 31 change percent. So we're about 11-12% higher than healthcare average. We have some clients and members of ours that are above 50%. So, there still is massive opportunity in that space. And there's no question, as somebody might think, well, a text open rate is 98%. Yes, that is great. That is why it's important for transactions. But don't negate the fact that consistency over time is what will drive your reactivations. And when you can be at a 30-40%, you are going to get substantial result, especially as your list is 500. It's probably some people listening that list 5,000. These are hundreds, if not thousands of people per week that are opportunities for you to connect, where if you're not doing any of this, it is 100% missed opportunity, right? So, to put that in perspective, subject lines, short and sweet, personalized is great. Your singular focus should be to drive curiosity, to open the email. And ideally, we like to see above a 30% internally with us. We like to see above 30%. If a doc's doing it on their own, a 20% plus would be pretty good.
That's fantastic. I've always taken the perspective in this, maybe it's part of my personality, but like I email people till they buy or die. So like, is it that same perspective? Like you're okay cleaning a list out? Like I want people to say, stop emailing me, and I'm going to keep emailing you until they say stop. Is that a perspective that you guys take?
Yeah, I'll throw a short piece of context, and then I'll ask Jason to kind of elaborate on it. I'll say, I agree with the buy or die, but sometimes I'm like that. Gosh, that sounds aggressive.
Yes, it does.
So,
It does. It does. So I need a better, like a nice little.
I got one for you, Ryan.
Please. Yeah.
The goal of your email is to influence a decision, whether that decision is to leave the list or whether that decision is to re-engage and click to call and click to schedule.
That was so much cleaner and kinder.
Influence.
The goal of the email
is not to be passive. It is to influence a decision. Jason,
I like that one.
Yeah, no, it's really simple that way. And to your point, Brian, it's not uncommon that in the beginning, when people start using our service, just as an example, so people know whether you'll do this yourself or whether you hire us to do it for you. I don't think anybody in the profession does what we do, but one way or the other do this. But in the beginning, as to your point, you will find that people will go, what are these emails from? I don't want emails from anybody. I don't do email, or whatever it may be. So there are people that go, hey, thank you, but no thank you. Stop emailing me. And that's called opt out.
Yep.
But that's what the magic, again, of what it is that we're doing is that in the beginning, you can, as you suggested, sort of cleanse your list. Those people that don't want to receive your emails should get off your list. The only way you know if they want them or not is to send them. And of course, all of our emails have the ability at the very bottom to click and opt out of receiving future emails. Once you get through that cleansing process, you can feel relatively confident that if they didn't opt out, that they want to opt in and continue to receive your emails. And that's a beautiful thing, because to have, I'll even go so far as to make the claim that for many chiropractors, the most valuable asset they have, including their building, including their home, including their car or other assets they may have, in most cases, I know there's exceptions, in most cases, the most valuable asset a chiropractor has is the ability to communicate with hundreds, if not thousands of people on a consistent basis for free, because you can email for free, and teach them and invite them to purchase something. Obviously, in our case, that's purchase coming into the practice, signing up for chiropractic care. and or whatever other services you have. A lot of docs use our service for things like high niche revenue niches. So decompression or neuropathy or other ways to sort of say, hey, I'm a chiropractor, but you may not know that we also provide these services and so on. So on our return on investment basis, on an ROI basis, docs can choose what message they're getting out. But the main thought process is, these people are my asset. Whether you think of it, I'll say sort of spiritually and altruistically, these are my people. I want to make sure that I lead them into a better place, or whether it's just purely business. Here's the data, here's the number. I got 1,000 people I'm connecting with. A percentage of them are going to be interested in what I'm doing. A percentage of them will buy, and that will turn into dollars for you. Again, the really miraculous thing about calculating your return on investment when it comes to email is there's little to no investment.
Right.
And that's the game changer. When you're doing direct response ads, you have an ad spend. You probably have an agency spend. So you got to figure out, if I'm spending thousands of dollars every month on a service and on ad spend, I have to calculate, is it returning anything? Because otherwise I can't keep doing this.
Right.
When you're dealing with sending free emails to hundreds of people who already were your clients, it's a completely different experience. And I'll just end by saying it translates into more fun and less stress. Meaning every chiropractor knows the difference between somebody who comes in from a deal. I call them tire kickers, okay, before they even start, they're asking how soon they can get out.
Yeah.
Got the harness cloth.
Yeah.
I have to pay something, don't you take all of my insurance and then some? So that tends to be, I'm being somewhat sarcastic, but that tends to be in many cases how it is. Having somebody come back is a whole different experience than having somebody start from scratch. They go, oh, you were right. I made a mistake. I should have followed your directions. I now know better. I've learned. I'm in, I'm back, I'm grateful. Let's do this thing. And that's just much more fun in practice, to have people coming back grateful than have people coming in not necessarily always interested in the type of care you provide. We all know most people go to chiropractors unknowingly to try to treat a symptom as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible. I call it a fast fix for free, as opposed to teach me more about my lifestyle and how you can help me achieve my lifestyle goals over my lifetime.
What I appreciate most about this conversation so far, besides the tactical aspect, is you guys are speaking the things that are not necessarily spoken, but you've brought it into digestible language for chiropractors to really, face their own crap, so to speak. And there's just another piece, like I've always called it my herd, like or flock, like as we're leading the flock. So, to summarize these tidbits, we could go on for hours here with these conversations, but we talked about the 30-second rule with chiropractic attention span, but we've hit 30 minutes, but this is very interesting to me. I could keep going, but I'd like to chunk this down, and we'll keep going here, because the Smart Chiropractor and Genesis are now integrated. We'll go into more details with Genesis Nation, and we'll be putting out herd emails for our clients to learn about how to get your services. We'll put all the links below. Everything will be easy, where you can just simply get this process where you can either do it yourself through your campaigns, or you do it for you. There's different levels. I'll let our people talk to you about that directly. This is more just about these awesome nuggets for marketing. And if you like marketing, these gentlemen are very smart in this aspect. So teach and inspire, know, like, and trust, communication strategies. We've touched on some really important things: relational neuroscience, relational component versus just transactional component. Any final sprinkles you guys got for us here? Because this has all been awesome.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing that I would just get across to everybody listening and watching is to utilize your list. We'll make it easy. We can get you the best results. I feel very confident saying that. But if you choose, do something on your own. We got a variety of tools. If you visit our website, blogs that can show you how to do things. If you want to give it a go, the most important thing I think that every doc listening and watching can do is take action in some capacity. We're going to make things easiest and get best results. But again, if you want to take the reins and go for it yourself for a little bit, get familiar with the systems and processes, go for it. We'll be here when you're ready. But man, this is a really foundational component, in my opinion, to every practice that's looking to build and grow. We sort of show this item where it's a chiropractic entrepreneur's issue, but it's really every entrepreneur. All of us as business owners, we get attached to the new shiny thing and we're standing on, a bucket of gold. And in this case, I would view that bucket of gold as the email list. So, I know it's exciting to look at what's the greatest thing. Should I be doing this, that, and the other thing? The answer might be yes, but please don't ignore the valuable asset that you have at your fingertips, quite literally right now, which is the email list that resides within Genesis and your EHR. It's absolutely critical that you begin using that. And as you kind of hinted at, Brian, we won't go too deep on it today, but for Genesis Nation, we've made it as easy as possible. So the integration makes it absolutely streamlined and seamless for you to be able to use these systems and processes to maximize the tools. You have such an array of tools available within the Genesis ecosystem. We can help you maximize a lot of those tools, build those stats. So you're looking at that dashboard really happy each and every week because you have the automations that drive the result. Jason?
I'll just sort of close by saying we really appeal to a spectrum of chiropractors. There are those chiropractors, we have many of our clients who, what I refer to are set it and forget it. They love the fact that this automatically works, especially now with Genesis integration, that you basically set it up and let the machine do what it does for you. It personalizes your emails, your logo, they come from you. It is our message through your messaging from you. So there's that side of the spectrum. Simultaneously, on the other end of the spectrum, there are chiropractors that go, you have saved me so much time and energy. I used to write these myself, or I had somebody on my team write these myself, or I like to do it. I just can't do it as often as I'd like to. So the other side of the spectrum are those that use our content as sort of what I refer to as a base layer. They know something is going out on a regular basis. That decreases the stress, which then gets them actually into a more creative mode because they don't have to do it. So if you like to communicate with your people, then build on top of what we do for you. If you just want a machine that's going to communicate to your people for you in an appropriate teach and invite consistently format, we appeal to all of those. And again, we're excited because of the integration. That makes it the next step easier. And, at the end of the day, we know most chiropractors really want to be people that love their people, help heal their people, want to be in practice, working and connecting, building relationships, adjusting people, etc. Not working at their computer, writing emails, looking for pictures and images and research and everything that it takes to build these each and every week. It is a lot of work, but we want to do the work for you. So if you just want to set it and forget it, join us. If you want to continue to share your messaging over time, then build that messaging on top of what we built for you. It's easy to get started.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. This has been a amazing conversation, and we shall continue as we see, what we're learning through our own integration, and we'll get some feedback from our clients as well. And I'm just really excited about the approach and the niche and the fat that has been trimmed, because you're not just helping chiropractors, you're helping patients. Which I think, I don't want anyone to overlook that you're both still, you got your hearts in the game. You've just, your hour or your spears are just pointing in it, you're approaching it from a different direction. So I appreciate you both for that. And, I take that same perspective because I know that the work we're doing together is helping heal our community and our society and our planet. So thank you guys very much, and look forward to continued work here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.